Shalom and welcome to another installment of GMS in Transit, where we prophesy on the road. We're going to continue on with the book of Acts. We're going into the chapter 6 of the book of Acts. So I'm going to pass it to the elders.
Acts chapter 6 verse 1. And in those days, when the number of the disciples was multiplied, there arose a murmuring of the Grecians against the Hebrews, because their widows were neglected in the daily ministration.
Read that again, please.
And in those days, when the number of the disciples was multiplied, there arose a murmuring of the Grecians against the Hebrews.
Right. Now, the Hebrews were Israelites that knew that they were Israelites, born into learning Hebrew, the male children being circumcised on the 8th day, keeping the laws and so forth. And the Grecians were, when you look the word up, the word there should be, the word there is Hellenistas. And the word Hellenistas, you have Hellenistas and Hellenin. A Hellenin is an Israelite that doesn't know that they're Israelites. A Hellenistas is an Israelite that was born outside of the land, namely in Greece and in other lands. And basically they picked up on the Greek language. They had certain Greek customs, but they knew that they were Israelites. So the Hebrews, which were born in the land and knew that they were Hebrews from birth, they basically looked down at the Grecians, which were Hellenistas, which were Hebrews outside of the land. So that's what that means. It's not talking about white people. Go ahead.
Because their widows were neglected in the daily ministration.
The ministration was, when you go back to the 4th chapter, how they sold what they had and gave it to the disciples, and the disciples distributed to them according to what they need. So this was a problem. They wasn't getting what they needed. So with all those disciples coming up under the apostles, that it arose to be a problem that had to be dealt with. Go ahead.
Then the 12 called the multitude of the disciples unto them, and said, It is not reason that we should leave the word of the Most High and serve tables. Wherefore, brethren, look ye out among you 7 men of honest report, full of the Holy Spirit and wisdom, whom we may appoint over this business.
Yeah, because the apostles didn't deal with those businesses where they had a lot of meetings and they dealt with money and stuff like that, and all these different problems, because they were fully into the word. Just like us, the elders, we making these videos, we're doing all these different things pertaining to the word, to pushing this truth out.
Okay.
So they appointed guys that had the knowledge, that were teachers as well, but they appointed them to deal with that business. Go ahead.
But we will give ourselves continually to prayer and to the ministry of the word. And the same pleased the whole multitude, and they chose Stephen, a man full of faith and of the Holy Spirit, and Philip and Prochorus and Nicanor and Timon and Parmenas and Nicholas, a proselyte of Antioch, whom they set before the apostles. And when they had prayed, they laid their hands on them. And the word of the Most High increased, and the number of the disciples multiplied in Jerusalem greatly, and a great company of priests were obedient to the faith. And Stephen, full of faith and power, did great wonders and miracles among the people. Excuse me. Then there arose certain of the synagogues, which is called the synagogue of the Libertines, and Cyrenians, and Alexandrians, and of them of Cilicia, and of Asia.
For example, Alexandrians were Israelites that were brought up in Alexandria, Egypt.
Yep.
So you can understand.
Yep.
Because you had a lot of Israelites stay in Greece during the time of the Maccabees. But they knew that 3 times out of the year they were to come to Jerusalem. So there was some that moved back among the Hebrews in the different areas of the land of Israel.
Libertines, a synagogue of the Libertines and Cyrenians and Alexandrians, and of them of Cilicia and of Asia.
Because they had their synagogues, and the word synagogue is Greek for house, which means temple. So they had temples out there where they lived outside of the land of Israel.
Disputing with Stephen, and they were not able to resist the wisdom and the spirit by which he spake. Then they suborned men, which said, We have heard him speak blasphemous words against Moses and against the Most High. And they stirred up the people and the elders and the scribes, and came upon him, and caught him, and brought him to the council, and set up false witnesses, which said, This man ceaseth not to speak blasphemous words against his holy place and the law. For we have heard him say that this Yahushua of Nazareth shall destroy this place, and shall change the customs which Moses delivered us. And all that sat in the council, looking steadfastly on him, saw his face as it had been the face of an angel. Acts 7:1. Then said the high priest, Are these things so? And he said, Men, brethren, and fathers, hearken. The power of glory appeared unto our father Abraham when he was in Mesopotamia, before he dwelt in Haran, and said unto him, Get thee out of thy country and from thy kindred, and into the land which I shall show thee. Then came he out of the land of the Chaldeans, and dwelt in Haran. And from thence, when his father was dead, he removed him into this land wherein you now dwell. And he gave him none inheritance in it, no, not so much as to set his foot on. Yet he promised that he would give it to him for a possession, and to his seed after him, when as yet he had no child. And the Most High spake on this wise, that his seed...
You notice it said his seed.
Con.
Now, if you go back to the history in Genesis, Abraham had 8 seeds.
Yep.
But it mentioned that the inheritance was going to come through or go to one seed.
Yep.
And that seed was Isaac. And from Isaac came Jacob. And from Jacob came us today, the Israelites. So the promise fell on us as well. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's the seed of the promise.
The seed of the promise, yep.
And the Most High spake on this wise, that his seed should sojourn in a strange land.
And that was Egypt.
Yep. Right. All them nations didn't go to Egypt in bondage. And that
there's no record of Ishmael and the 6 sons from Keturah. They didn't go to Egypt.
Yep.
It was Israel. It was that seed.
And that they should bring them into bondage and entreat them evil 400 years. And the nation to whom they shall be in bondage will I judge.
Which are the Egyptians. This is not talking about America.
Right.
You have certain clowns out there that said that this is talking about America. It's not talking about America. It's talking about Egypt.
Said the Most High, and after that shall they come forth and serve me in this place. And he gave him the covenant of circumcision. And so Abraham begat Isaac and circumcised him the 8th day. And Isaac begat Jacob, and Jacob begat the 12 patriarchs. And the patriarchs moved with envy, sold Joseph into Egypt, but the Most High was with him, and delivered him out of all his afflictions, and gave him favor and wisdom in the sight of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. And he made him governor over Egypt and all his house. Now there came a dearth over all the land of Egypt and Canaan, and great affliction, and our fathers found no sustenance. But when Jacob heard that there was corn in Egypt, he sent out our fathers first, And at the second time, Joseph was made known to his brethren. And Joseph's kindred was made known unto Pharaoh. Then sent Joseph and called his father Jacob to him, and all his kindred, 60 souls. So Jacob went down into Egypt and died, he and our fathers, and were carried over into Sichem, and laid in the sepulchre that Abraham bought for a sum of money of the sons of Emor, the father of Sichem. And when the time of the promise drew nigh, which the Most High had sworn to Abraham, the people grew and multiplied in Egypt, till another king arose which knew not Joseph. The same dealt subtly with our kindred, and evil entreated our fathers, so that they cast out their young children, to the end they might not live. In which time Moses was born, and was exceeding fair, and nourished up in his father's house 3 months. And when he was cast out, Pharaoh's daughter took him up, and nourished him for her own son. And Moses was learnt in all the wisdom of the Egyptians, and was mighty in words and in deeds. And when he was full 40 years old, it came into his heart to visit his brethren, the children of Israel.
So what did that mean? You have these scholars saying that he found out he was an Israelite. Somebody said, you one of them Israelites. He knew he was an Israelite,
right?
Based on the statement that the elder just read.
It says, and when he was full 40 years old, it came into his heart to visit his brethren, the children of Israel. And seeing one of them suffer wrong, he defended him, and avenged him that was oppressed, and smote the Egyptian. For he supposed his brethren would have understood how that the Most High by his hand would deliver them, but they understood not. And the next day he showed himself unto them as they strove, and would have set them at one again, saying, Sirs, you are brethren, why do you wrong one to another? But he that did his neighbor wrong thrust him away, saying, Who made thee a ruler and a judge over us?
Well, that right there proves that we're Jake,
Yep.
That right there that you're just reading is called a nigger moment.
Yeah.
All right? Here, Moses is trying to stop two Israelites from fighting and say, aren't y'all brothers?